5 o'clock. Public hearing with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, this is the public hearing for the municipal election warrant, to go over that and to look at a couple proposed ordinance changes. Start off by reading the election warrant. It says, to Barbara Raymond, a citizen of the town of Sullivan in the county of Hancock, greetings. In the name of the state of Maine, you are hereby required in the name of the state of Maine to notify the voters of Sullivan, Maine of the election described in this warrant. On the 4th day of November, 2025, the polls will be opened at 7:45 a.m. to 8 o'clock a.m. for Article 1 of this warrant. Afterwards, polls will open at 8 a.m. for Article 2 through 5 of this warrant, with polls closing at 8 p.m. You are hereby notified that the municipal election in this municipality will be held at the following location: 1888 U.S. Highway 1, Sullivan, Maine, on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025, for the purpose of electing a select board member, voting to approve the 2025 comprehensive plan, and voting to make changes to the building and rental housing ordinances. Article 1, to elect a moderator to preside at said election. Article 2, to elect a select board member for the 20-month term ending 06/30/2027. 3, to see if the inhabitants of the town of Sullivan will vote to approve the 2025 Town of Sullivan Comprehensive Plan. Article 4, to see if the inhabitants of the town of Sullivan will vote to make the following changes to the building ordinance. A, the removal of any forms and fees within the document, and B, the addition of definitions and updated language. 5, to see if the inhabitants of the town of Sullivan will vote to make the following changes to the rental housing ordinance. A, removal of any fees listed within the document, and B, the addition of definitions and updated language. The registers of voters will be available at the Sullivan Town Office Monday through Thursday from 7:30 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. at the polling location during the election from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to correct any error in the changes to name or address on voting lists and to accept any new registrations of persons eligible to vote. All persons not registered may vote in any election by registering to vote on or before election day. So that is the proposed warrant. Any questions about warrant?
Yeah. The removal of any forms and fees within the document and the addition of definitions and updated language, are we allowed to? Is that posted to see the before and after?
Yes. Yeah, there's hand. Did you get the handouts?
It says the handout?
There's 2 handouts. Yep.
Okay.
But I meant just generally speaking, were there any questions before we get into the specifics of the ordinances? Okay. Moving on to the proposed ordinance changes, I will hand it over to Kevin for a little presentation, and then we can have question and answer.
Basically, these 2 ordinances are, the changes are to help bring them into better compliance with the state and federal regulations by getting rid of like specifically named statutes. Just going through some of the statutes that were listed have been repealed. Once it's repealed, it goes to a new number. The ordinance doesn't follow with it anymore. So it makes a kind of circular pattern as to how you go forward. Some of the recommendations are also from Maine Municipal Association that there shouldn't be applications in here, like for the building application, it shouldn't be a part of the ordinance itself. Because it should be able to be changed as needed. Like if we see there's a typo, it shouldn't have to go back before a town vote to be changed, because you're not changing the heart of what the ordinance is, which requires town vote. we're changing the ordinance and what's on that. The fees also are not recommended to be in the ordinances by MMA, because again, they should be able to be flexible and change as needed. It's one of those things that if things get really bad, fees could go down. If there's a really upswing, they could go up, but it should be able to be measured. And that falls to the select board. Most places, they decide once a year, and most of the time after it's set, it usually stays pretty steady. It's not like they're going in every week or every meeting to change things. It would be generally a once a year review. And that's with recommendations. Also, the biggest addition that you'll see in both of them is just adding in similar language to other ordinances that are already in the town. Some of it is just like in the building ordinance, moving it from the back of the ordinance to the front. For like the jurisdiction, the conflict of ordinances and validity, just so that they're set up the same going forward. It's trying to get that same pattern going so that everything is gonna be the same going forward. It makes it easier to go down through it. And the biggest thing is adding definitions. Definitions are just in there to clarify what different things mean in this ordinance, and that's it. And for these two, it's pretty much the same ones. In these, they didn't have a definition of code enforcement officer, plumbing inspector, or health officer. So those are added, but there was other definitions that are also added. Some of which are required, like accessory dwelling unit, that's part of state law now. So it does have to be in as a definition. One of the other changes was for NFPA life safety codes, it mentions a specific edition, 2018. Maine has adopted the 2021 edition, so. And they come out with a new one every 3 years. So. By putting it at 2018, you're locked into that one edition. And it just isn't up to date with current standards. And that's what most of this is, it's just housekeeping items.
Rather than stating that this is an issue, it's saying the current issue.
Right,
You understand?
correct. That's all I have.
Any questions for Kevin?
When are we gonna start making contractors in the state have a contractor's license, make them liable for their work? Reason I ask that is I'm going through a $25,000 lawsuit right now with one.
I know somebody in another town that has probably $100,000 lawsuit going. But as soon as the legislature can decide that it's important enough to get out of committee. Maine Building Officials Association, which is the code enforcement group in the state, pushes for it every legislative session. Every legislative session, it gets killed in committee. So the more times you bring it up to your local reps, the better.
They get any part of that. Thank you.
Go ahead, Bethany.
Yeah, okay. Appreciate your work on the ordinances. I do have a few questions. For each of these, could you tell me when they were approved, the planning board, or if they did get approved at the planning board? And what the votes were to approve them?
The addition of definitions and the language and the removal.
So,
For the ordinance,
Yeah.
the building ordinance was last approved on June 28th, 2021.
no, for the planning board.
That's when it was approved by the town. That's all I have. And for the housing, rental housing, was June 29th, 2009, was the last approval before the town.
Okay, I'll ask my question maybe a little differently. Did these go before the planning board?
No,
Okay.
because it was just for those changes.
Okay, so on the rental housing ordinance. I appreciate the definitions, I think some of these are essentially state law, so I'm not sure why we have to repeat them. But one thing about taking out the MRSA reference, which I don't know if you did on this one or just the building one. I'm specifically looking at the rental ordinance now. I only had a few minutes to look at this, so forgive me for jumping around, but one thing about keeping that in, there's a way to keep it in and any reference, any that are changed by state, instead of just removing it completely, because it does give context as to where it was in state law. I find them helpful, to be able to type in that title and go look to see what the actual language is of the law, so I don't really think we should remove the reference, but rather revise how it's referenced to indicate any repeal, and follow on ordinances. I don't know how you say it, but I bet MMA does, and probably you too.
In the rental, sorry, Kevin, in the rental one, it's not in there or removed.
I see that, but it is in the building ordinance.
Right, and for the building, what could be done is an add-on, just like putting it with the application.
Yeah.
So that as they change, it can get changed.
Okay.
What it is just trying to keep it
That's
from
fine.
being in here where it's locked in. That's the whole thing.
Yeah,
And by referencing that you have to go to the state ordinances, we can give a list of them. And most of the towns actually will put them on the building application.
okay,
And that
put it
way-
somewhere, but the
right.
building application, that sounds fine, as long as that's available online.
Yeah.
Along with
Mhm.
ordinance, like what the current application is,
And that can be,
and I totally agree with the separating it, I think that's the wisest thing to do, and also taking dollar values out of it. But I also think that the process of assigning the dollar values for these things needs to be a public process. As far as rental housing ordinance, the definition, accessory dwelling unit, I understand the state has adopted some rather loose, thankfully, accessory dwelling unit
Yeah.
regulations. How does this compare to the state definition?
it is the state's definition.
And so they define it as 190 square feet.
It must be at least 190 square feet for the accessory dwelling unit.
And do they define it as housing for a relative or a family member only?
They do not,
Right, so I
but
would
they do
suggest,
not specify that the town can.
I agree, but this is a backdoor to what we already voted on. We
Yeah.
voted on this back when we had a meeting, I don't think it was an annual town meeting, it was a special town meeting. We voted on several ordinances and this was voted down. So it just seems like another attempt to try to change the state law and be more onerous than state law. So to me, this is more than housekeeping. This is actually a substantial change from what the state allows. So I think that should definitely be communicated to the residents of Sullivan, who may want to have an accessory dwelling unit and not rent it out to a relative or family member. That is something that I feel very passionate about, especially if we talk about affordable housing and all of that. So we're now restricting what we can do in our own homes. And I don't agree with that. We're being more restricted than the state, and I don't believe that we should be doing that here in Sullivan.
How would the definition of short-term rental be different than accessory dwelling if that were the case?
I never said anything about short-term rental. What I'm saying is now I can't.
No, I was
rent it to
asking the
somebody who's
question.
not- Okay, ask your question again.
It's like, if that were removed, then how is it, the definition any different than short-term rental? Would,
Well, short-term rental can be any kind of house, whatever,
mm,
accessory dwelling units, a specific type of. Unit that's going to another house, as far as another house, and this would ban it being used as a. As a rental at all. I mean, I know that Cynthia Perkins built one of those down there, and this would ban her from being able to use it as a rental.
but it wouldn't, because she would then fall under short-term rental if she was renting to anybody else. This is just the definition of an accessory dwelling would be for a certain type of people. Or you can have another type of dwelling that is for other people. That's why
I mean,
I'm
that's
confused as to why it's
another
removed.
point. Why are we as the town of Sullivan regulating rentals in the town of Sullivan? I don't understand the premise behind any of that. I don't believe that is something that we need to dip our toes into. We need to worry about our roads, and honestly, our fire department and things like that. And this going down this route, it, for me, is not something that I feel I moved to the town of Sullivan for. I came here, I picked this town, I picked it because it's not like Ellsworth, it's not like Bangor, it's not like some of these other communities. And here we
Not
are,
as-
putting it into our ordinances, and I don't know what the value is. Besides, you know, giving, no offense, Kevin, I really don't mean it offensively, but you know, giving somebody something to do. To stick their nose into your private business,
Mhm.
and I don't believe in it, and so I don't think that we should adopt these changes. And that is my recommendation.
So-
My recommendation for the select board. Now, I know it's on a public hearing, but I also believe you have a meeting and you can repeal it. You don't have to put it on the warrant.
Can I ask you one second? When you said regulation, other than the spot and accessory dwelling unit, what other regulation are you pointing out?
To yearly inspections.
Well, those were pre-existing.
Okay, well then maybe we should work on taking that away.
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
It was originally passed June 24th, 1991.
So it's been a long time.
And you know, like, what, Bethany was saying, the state, they've recently passed a lot of laws to try to encourage people to build more housing, to encourage landlords to, make it financially less risky for a landlord to rent. And this is just doing the opposite. I mean, it's facing more of the burden, you know, it's taking an entire class of building out, making it so you cannot rent it to people. It's this is what this does.
On the ADU.
Yes,
So if the ADU is changed, if the ADU section was changed, please tell me something else. What else?
Why do we need to
Goes-
define short-term rental?
Okay, it's a state thing. It's not us.
no, I mean,
So if we're talking about regulation, how does, wait, how does a definition regulate what something's done?
so what,
Unless we say how it's regulated, how does a definition regulate something?
so this now requires a business license for anybody that's gonna have the rental things, right?
Did it prior to today, did it?
It's already existing.
Have
You're
you
already
ever done
supposed to.
Have you ever asked for a business? Have you made anybody have one?
I have it in the office, right, I could put it out to, on. Our communication, that's supposed to register.
So
The register, because it is,
I've been renting.
it is a business. It is a business, when you write stuff, you're doing a business, correct?
I'm giving people housing. I'm gonna.
I mean, the town used to do inspections. I have inspection records that from periods ago when it was done.
Let's just remind everybody where we're at. This is the building ordinance. I don't believe that there was a lot of public input on it at that time, and I know it passed. And I know it was part of like, you know, maybe some complaints in the past by citizens about this building ordinance that people passed, they didn't understand it. And unfortunately, we're referencing something that I think a sin in the past to put as our foundation to stand on today, which I don't think that's the right thing to do. I would also say that from my own personal experience, and I'm not speaking about anybody else's experience, but my own personal experience, having these regulations puts people out of houses. There are unintended consequences here. You know, I used to own rental property, and when the town would step in, and even though I was okay, because I was a historic building in a historic district, which I believe is now being proposed as part of the comp plan, I didn't have to apply with these like safety codes, all right? So I had a pass for a number of years, and then all of a sudden I had a warrant. A summons to court to bring my building up to current standards. And the cost of that put me out of the building. I had to sell. I could not afford to take all of my tenants that lived there for 5-10 years. I never raised their rent. They were good tenants and I wanted them to stay. I would have to house them in order to upgrade my building to current standards and then bring them back in. It was unaffordable. I sold the house, turned into condos. So, there is a cost and there are unintended consequences. I believe in going with, life safety standard, I agree.
It's state law.
That's
No getting
fine.
around it.
And there's ways around this. I own experience, college, I apparently lived in a substandard place, I didn't know it when I rented it. Guess what? I had a legal avenue to pursue and I got myself a new apartment. So, there are ways to deal with this without making an ordinance, that we all now have to somehow register with the town. A lot of other communities don't do that. I'm sorry that this one does, and I did not know it did, because I probably would have looked elsewhere, to be quite honest with you. Because I'm just passing that cost on to other people, and that's part of the affordable discussion that people don't seem to understand, or at least they don't want to, acknowledge the fact that if I have to pay a fee for an annual inspection, or if I have to pay taxes, another tax to the town on rental income, which I already have to pay the state and federal for. Now I'm passing that on to the rental costs. I'm not absorbing that. Why would I take that out of my own personal cash flow, right? Like, I'm not doing that. So I just want us to be a little more cognizant of like some of the unintended consequences. And I agree, you guys are all saying it's state law, but show me the actual language. I would like a sheet that says, this is exactly what it says in the state law, or for you to provide an actual definition link, or tell me what MRSA I'm supposed to go to for this one, because it's not in the rental ordinance.
For the rental.
Yeah.
They go by Life Safety 101, 2021. Basically, you have to have fire extinguishers, you have smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. You have to have fire exits.
Yeah.
You have to have egress
Right.
windows, if it doesn't have a second means of egress.
Yeah.
You have to have liquefied gas detector.
So
You have
again,
to have yearly inspections for your furnace, or heating system. You have to have radon tests every 3 years and have it posted. You have to have those things.
so why does the town need to get into that if it's state law? As
All
a-
it does in here is say that you have to have, it. That's it, that you have to meet those state standards.
It does, where does it say short term? I'm asking specifically about short term rental.
The state,
Definition.
this ordinance does not distinguish between short-term or long-term. It is rental, that is it.
Well, it has a
That's how it is
definition of long-term rental and a definition of short-term rental.
Long-term rental generally is greater than 30 days.
But you
Under
said,
state's definition, and they use that more for hotels. Because once anything that's short term, they can have staying in it. Once it's long term, it falls under different safety codes. As far as sprinklers and those types of things. That's why that definition is in there, is just. So somebody can't say, yeah, I'm doing short-term rental and rent the place for.
so can I ask my
Here.
question again? Does this definition meet exactly how it's written in state statute?
State statute doesn't have a direct definition. This is a compilation of many different towns that is
So again, it's not
recommended
just
language.
housekeeping. Why do we need to define it in the town of Sullivan?
So that it's there. That's it.
For what reason? That's my point. What are we gonna see with this definition in the future? Why do you need to have it defined?
There's nothing different in the future. It's so that if a landlord comes in, gets a business license for a short-term rental. And they say, yeah, it's only gonna be a seasonal cabin. Nobody's gonna be there year round. Then it doesn't have to have insulation. It doesn't have to have a heating system. But if it's gonna be a year-round rental. And they're gonna be there for more than 30 days, it has to meet different standards. That's where it is, and that's. in the
Unsafe
building
living
code as well.
conditions for people.
I get that, I get that, but isn't that state law? Like, that's what I don't get. Why are we why are we capturing state law and adding definitions in the town of Sullivan?
Definitions are just there so that there's clarity for enforcement. And for people to be
Thank
able
you.
to know
So
what
there's
they are
clarity
doing.
for enforcement. So the question is, as part of citizens of Sullivan, do I want to comply with a short-term definition? So as a definition of a short-term rental, the question is, If I'm gonna rent it for more than 15 days out of the entire year, I have to now comply with a business license. That's exactly right. So this is defining me into a category where now I have to get a business license. Maybe I had to before, but again, there's sins in the past about that ordinance. So, I think that's my problem. I'm gonna say it again, I need to leave. We're overstepping, and I don't, like, it takes time and effort for somebody to enforce and to now take these definitions and now enforce them. And we have roads that we need to address. We have tree trimming, we have tons of work. I don't want my focus to be on rentals. And then my next question, which I'll leave you with, is like, literally, what is the scope of this? Like, how many rentals are we even talking about? Do we know? Are there just 10 rentals in the town of Sullivan?
Much more than you think.
1,000, because that's a big difference to me in how much effort I think we should spend on.
Much more than 10. And if the definitions of short and long-term rental were not in this, how would it change the ordinance for you?
I
Find
think
out.
we need
What
to
do you
take, and adopt state laws and not make our own more restrictive ordinances. That's my feedback. I will definitely be telling people that I communicate with, not support the ordinances. Appreciate your time, all your efforts.
Thanks, Bethany.
Thank you.
As to how many, I kind of checked that out. I mean, there's no way to tell directly, but just for the size of the town, there will be, on average, maybe like 120. And so, I mean, that's quite a few inspections. I mean, probably most people don't even know about the business license or inspections or anything like that. And, I mean, if you started enforcing it, I mean, that's going to be a huge burden on the town and a huge cost.
Where did the costs come from?
My recommendation was that it comes from the fees from the ordinance, that they would be self-supporting in that. And the way I also look at it is, it's a lot easier for me to go in, you as the landlord saying, hey, we're here for the yearly inspection. What do you got for me? Opposed to what I do most of the time right now, which is, he's your renter. Hey, I just got kicked out. There's all kinds of violations in here. You wanna come see them? And then I'm meeting you and it's like, okay, I already know I have this, and this that I'm gonna be looking at, opposed to, hey, let's work together.
But
This is actually more of the friendly way to do it, because you're expecting the same thing. We're on the same page, we know what's going on. And it helps you stay up to date on your stuff. As well as it makes sure that the renter has the protection that they need. And that's how I'm looking at it, is life safety. It's not about how many or what the definition is. If somebody does a short-term rental and it's for 45 days, I don't care. It's when that short-term rental turns into a year rental, then there's different avenues that have to be gone down. It doesn't change a lot of things, but you have to meet different criteria. And it's for the protection of the people. It also, what I've seen in the past in another town I worked at, was I had a complaint. And that was the opinion that the short-term rental person had of the town. Was, this place is a dump, the whole town must be, because they don't do anything. There was bare wires, the fire exit wouldn't open because the meat deck was too high. There was no numbers on the house. It was just all kinds of things. If you turned on the space heater, which wasn't supposed to even be there, it kicked off the breaker for the refrigerator and the stove, which was in a locked basement, which they didn't have access to. There was a lot of concerns. And that's, from my perspective, what I'm looking at trying to avoid. And it's a lot easier working with somebody, knowing exactly what it is I'm going in looking for, than it is to go in after the fact. And I'm pulling up the state inspection list, which is what I've done so far. Because it's part of the occupancy permit. And I ask when I'm doing the occupancy, is this a residence or is this a rental? Because it's a different checklist, because I have to hit those same criteria for a rental whether we have an ordinance or not. Because of life safety, and the state already has adopted an FPA life safety. So it's required.
So are you gonna go around and inspect everybody's house?
The idea
You know,
is,
like my neighbor's house, we got mold in it, are you gonna get out and inspect her house?
if it's a personal residence, no,
Then why would you, why?
because it's a business and as a renter, you may not have as many choices on where you go, or you may not feel like you do.
Okay, but
Because
why-
of financial
why
reasons or
have-
other things.
I have all the bells and whistles I'm supposed to have,
Mhm.
and then you go over and they got them sitting on the table. Where's
It's
that,
their responsibility to maintain.
right, but when you go in there and
when-
they're sitting on the table, you're gonna say,
But when we're doing that yearly inspection, so that's a common thing. That's a check, we do need to have help getting them evicted as well. They're not maintaining this property, they
right,
have these obligations,
but they
they're
also
not
have
doing it.
rights too, you think,
Right.
what's going on?
but under state law, you have to supply a smoke alarm.
Yeah, I do,
They have to provide the batteries after that
I
first
know,
year.
I provide those too,
Yep, but you don't have to,
I know.
it's the
But
renter's
I don't, when
responsibility
you go
to
over and
maintain.
it's not working, then you say, okay, here you go.
What I'm looking at is, if I know you put it in there last year and it's now sitting on the ground, I know it's not your fault. So I can go after your tenants just as easily as I can go after.
That's
Well, as code enforcement, I can go
Yeah, are
after
you
them
gonna
just
go
as easily.
like, okay, I have mobile home, are you gonna crawl under the mobile home, make sure it's safe?
I'm not crawling underneath, but I'm gonna go through and check the same things,
But
if
you
it's a
don't
rental,
know about dog pattern, if you crawl and you look at.
but I don't have, that's not part of the inspections.
Should be.
I've done mobile home
Market
inspections,
safety
that were rentals. And one of them had the pressure tank sitting underneath the trailer
Yeah, that's right.
without insulation. With bare wires,
Yeah.
with water dripping right beside it. That didn't pass.
That's because the tenant doesn't pay its monthly leave.
But again, that's where this comes in with doing the inspection,
know.
where I'm walking in with you. Opposed to the tenant calling me.
I do
Because
know
9
that-
times out of 10, I get a call from the tenant. When they're getting evicted or when they're getting ready to leave anyway.
Right.
It's like that last week.
So let me ask you, is there a charge to go in and do this?
Right now, in the ordinance is $10.
You
Per
can
week.
pay that.
Hmm?
I'm not gonna pay that. Because mine were already inspected, I mean, like, we had in hours.
So it's the one that had the
They.
one that I was just talking about, that had a HUD inspection 2 weeks before I was there.
Yeah,
They
like,
don't look at the same
oh,
things.
this guy does, the one that we had, we don't anymore, but we had one that did.
You wanna know what the HUD laws are? They are from 1992. That was the last time they were updated.
But they-
That is for all mobile homes.
Oh, he was pretty strict with my union. Because everything, was anything wrong with it, you can't be there. What did you do?
I've gone in for inspections after them, I've gone in for inspections after. Insurance adjusters have gone through and done inspections. They're looking at different things, it's part of it. Well, you know,
Seems like they need,
There's a whole list of minimum standards,
Yeah.
seems like, if people really started doing these inspections, I mean, you spend hundreds of hours a year inspecting places that didn't have any problems. And
Right.
it would be better, your time would be better spent on inspecting the ones where there was a problem to start with. And not doing inspections on, I mean, the state law doesn't require you to do inspections. And there's really no, I mean, other towns don't do that. Around here, it's, it'll be.
I had actually. Put before the planning board, a short-term rental and long-term rental ordinance. Which was before I even knew this existed. And the idea behind those was that, like the short-term especially. That there could be a possibility for like a gold star system, where instead of being inspected every year. It might be every 2 years or every 3 years, and the same could be done with this. It just has to be changed in the ordinance, but. these ordinances still need work. All that was done was the basics, adding definitions, taking out fees, taking out the references to specific statutes and federal laws or codes, and taking out any applications or anything like that. Stuff that really shouldn't be in these, or that really needs to be in.
Because if the new stuff doesn't pass, the ordinance still exists
Right, so this.
based on 2009 agreement.
Mhm.
And it's a lot more vague without having the definitions. But some of the stuff like in the building ordinance was. It's references the code enforcement officer or the plumbing inspector, but there's no definition of what that position is. That's some of the stuff that was out. Also, some of the things in here aren't covered by the code enforcement or the health or the plumbing inspector. They have to be covered by the health officer. And it's just clarifying some of those titles so that you know who is supposed to be followed. Or who has jurisdiction within the ordinance. Just clearing stuff up. I'm sorry.
Now, I believe Bethany was incorrect in saying that we could just get rid of the ordinance altogether.
No,
We have to follow at least at a minimum what the state has.
correct. And whether it's voted in or not, I still
Doesn't
have to
matter.
follow what the state says because it's stricter. You have to go by whatever's the stricter policy.
So you don't need an ordinance, I mean, because there's certain things that are in state law and there already exists. And you don't have an ordinance, then, but the local ordinance is the one making the new inspections. I mean, not state law. The
Right, but
other
these-
towns in the area don't have any of this kind of.
But these are already on the books.
Yeah.
So even if you vote no on this for adding definitions, the ordinance itself still stands until somebody comes up and says that they want to put it on another ballot to be taken out.
Hopefully, if this product people's attention, but if it exists at all, then hopefully. we get-
And it's not even like it's something new. 2009, it's been out there since.
No, 1991, 2009
Yeah,
was the last.
Yeah, last revision. So the last time somebody had a chance to look at this as a group was 2009. It's not a new one where we can say, oh, it was COVID. It's been around for a long time.
I don't know that, I mean. That might know, I mean, how many people apply for a business license for a rental?
I just have to look what those are, my. We get 3 years in November, and I have not known anybody who's applied for business license as a landlord, we'll say.
So if the ordinance says you're supposed to do things and you don't know you're supposed to, or you just refuse to do it, and you don't let anybody know that your property is a rental, and I'm just not going to fill out one. Now, we don't know that you're renting it. We don't know that you're violating the ordinance. I don't know.
What business of the town doesn't know what to do with the home?
It's an ordinance. An ordinance says, here's what you're supposed to do. But if no one tells anybody,
It's not a state order.
but the town agreed.
State law, it's a town order,
Yeah, the town agreed starting back in 1991
right?
that they would have a rental ordinance. So in some shape or form, since 1991, this has existed.
Sounds like.
Well, it never really came up till Airbnb became popular.
I have in my drawer old inspections they were doing on rentals in the town for a period of time up until I think it was in the 90s. They were still doing rental inspections. So this is something that was a common practice that was being done for whatever reason, whatever criteria generated the need or
There was
the concern.
There was a trailer park in the eighties that had open sewage, no running water, no electricity and some of the stuff, and the people got upset and wanted that trailer park gone. But they couldn't without the ordinance saying, hey, at least you must have sewage, running water, electricity.
I'm
Safety
sure
stuff.
state law says that, doesn't it?
It does, but there's no state inspectors for it.
But if there's a problem, then have the right to inspect.
I had,
If there's a complaint,
Right,
otherwise I have to leave. I have to have permission to be able to leave.
but if there's sewage running in the streets, somebody money, and then you go over there and that would solve everything on the whole issue.
Right.
Yeah, that was just the history of why in 91 they made this.
I went to somebody at the present today because they were calling, asking for the house because. They were really, because of the project they were in, they bone and some of that, so I can't fix it, but. The code enforcement officer,
But that's kind of the way it should work. I mean, if there's a problem, people say something. You get involved, it gets fixed, but just in the normal situation, like in every other town around
the
here,
problem is
there's
this,
not.
how long has that place had bones?
And
Have you ever had the unfortunate circumstance to live in a place where you feel that you're lucky to have and you're worried about losing? And you don't want to complain to the landlord because you're going to be out in the street?
Well,
And how much will you put up with? How much will you put up with?
in here, they'll be out on the street.
Yeah.
But I think that might be some of the reason why folks at some point back in 91 thought this was a necessity. You know, I don't know who was here in this room to figure on what happened, but at some point somewhere, some group of people decided this is a necessity. So this is something we're still living with.
Well, I mean, it's good it's being brought up. I mean, hopefully when people, realize it's here, realize that other towns don't do this, and hopefully. And hopefully it would make your life easier. It's gonna be, I mean, if 100 people really start doing inspections, that's all you're gonna be doing.
that I would not have an issue with. I'd rather go in and do 100 inspections and find absolutely nothing wrong. Than have a call from somebody that knows that they're at the very end of what they can take. And know, because I have to tell them, it's double-edged sword. I can say that, yeah, this, and this have to be fixed. And the landlord can say, fine, I'm just gonna shut it down. Which for me makes more work because I have to actually monitor to see if they put somebody else in there. Because if they shut it down, it's shut down. They can't rent it back out. If they want to live in it, they absolutely can. But I have to make sure that they're not still renting, opposed to doing it this way where I'm doing yearly inspections. I'm coming up with, hey, how's it going today? It's time for our yearly inspection. Anything new going on? Anything you want to tell me about that you changed or anything? It's a lot more user friendly. It's not, okay. I got a complaint from you, and then I know they're moving out on Friday, but this is what they told me. And I have these 4 things that we both know that I'm probably gonna find. Because the tenants aren't gonna necessarily make stuff up.
We do a yearly inspection anyway. I mean, the landlord does a yearly inspection anyway, and if they get a problem, then they should say something.
They should, but some of them are afraid to talk to the landlords.
And then they don't lose
And
it.
like Ray was just saying, I've had people that they were in the place that they could afford and that they were able to get when they needed it. And they were afraid they couldn't get
But
something
when the
else.
landlord goes in, he would see that.
But not all landlords care.
Right.
Well, I don't.
Yes, and I'm not saying anyone here doesn't, it's that there's that 1%, just like anything else in the population, there's that 1% that they're there to get checked every month. They're not gonna put that money back into that building, they're gonna let it crash down around people. And I've had a friend of the family who's in a situation like that, up in Bangor. And the roof literally collapsed in during the rainstorm. That's how bad it was. And they were afraid about calling code enforcement at that point. And I mean, there was nothing I could do except try to encourage them to call, but they were still afraid to call because that was their pain. They were renting, but and the landlord wasn't taking care of their duties, but they were afraid. And I hear that a lot from the tenants. They're afraid. Because they don't know what's gonna happen. Whereas if it's a yearly inspection, it also puts them at ease to be able to call too. If they can, I can tell them the project, hey, we need to let your landlord know. That this is an issue, send it to them in writing. Or text message, something that's solid that you can go back to. If they don't fix it, then I can get involved. And then we work together.
Right,
But
that's.
it makes everybody an equal partner. So that people don't have to be afraid,
Right,
because. I know when I go into some of these places, the first thing the landlord is doing is yelling and screaming at me that this is the best kept place, there's nothing wrong here. These are just troublemakers, they destroy everything. But if you're doing that your inspection, it's a history. I can know what's been going on. I can say, yeah, this isn't what this place looked like last year. This is, your tenants probably did do this. And it just has protection.
It's okay,
all
it's
sides.
okay, it doesn't mean this is going to pass, it just means this is what's going before the town and. You know, like Bethany said, she's gonna talk to a group of people about voting no, and that's
Because-
great, that's within her right.
some of these landlords are getting so greedy when it comes to rent, tenants can't afford it.
Mhm.
I keep my rent down so they can. And I'm not making money, but I'm giving people things, place to live, and it's not some.
So when you remove rentals from the market, is the rents are just gonna go up?
Yeah, it's sad.
Down in the
because
Shires.
It's like I'm $900 a month on one, $800 on another. Who do you know does that on a 4-bedroom trailer?
Okay.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're being an exceptional landlord,
$250.
providing people an opportunity.
Right, and if it's just sad because we're arguing over ordinance, we should be arguing over putting a price on rents that they can only do so much. That's what we should be doing. We should have an ordinance on that so people can afford this.
There's a new state law to help people, at least, I think it's LB 1751, or something, that, helps, landlords, and it has certain financial incentives and, pay for tenant damage and, defense and that, really help landlords. That it's that one, that we can, let's do it fast.
You know, it's just sad to see the way it's going.
But at
And
least,
then when the tenants, just do stuff to the houses and stuff.
Yeah.
We're the ones who get the slack on it,
Mhm.
you know.
but it's put more burden on people, it's just gonna make less rentals and.
Yeah, it is.
And,
Yeah.
but more expensive and drive people out of the area.
Yeah.
And it's,
It's ready to go money. Cause I can't, I'm at the point where mine, it's not really, I'm not making money, taxes are costing me more than I make. The rent's just about. So now it's time to.
there's always some last straw, and
Yeah.
maybe this is it. Maybe you have to go get a business license and get inspections, maybe that's saying. You know, I'll just.
The business license is not new, it's something that's been there for 30 years,
But people don't know,
right? And $10 a year for an inspection, something you can write off, basically. Part of your income tax.
maybe it'll be 100 now, we don't really know.
Well,
But that would have to be what the town agrees on,
Right.
you know? The town would agree on that this is excessive and this is not, and that's the fee, and that's what it is. If $10 stands, $10 stands.
Yep. So, but other than opposition, does anyone have any questions about what the ordinance says or what it means?
Or the building ordinance,
Or the
since
building?
we did a lot of rental.
The rental, the other one weird, kind of a really strange thing here is that, in section 2V, it says the CEO shall have the ability to assess fines. And, that's undefined, bizarre or anything, it's arbitrary, I don't think that.
We're talking building or rental?
The rental.
The rental.
Section.
It's, page 6. Page 6 on rental. And then the other thing at the end of that, the responsibility of the leaseor to prove this beyond reasonable doubt to the CEO, and that's kind of a judicial function, I doubt that one. It's a challenge of that we've even passing us for. Really strange thing to have in there for the police.
What was that? I missed the last part.
It's in page 6, E.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of that paragraph B, however, the responsibility of the leaseor to prove this beyond reasonable doubt to the CEO, mean, CEOs can act as a judge or the things not used out, that's a little bit standard for that.
Basically what it is it's so that. You have to have some kind of documentation, okay? This is what it looked like 90 days ago when I rented it. You have the pictures, you have the video going through. And I'm here on day 91. And the walls are rusted, the pipes are leaking, there's rats running all through it, and that would be proof. It's not just, well, it was $100,000 home last week. Today it's a $2,000 trailer.
And I think you're taking that line into context also, because that line is part of the lessor. The lessor will be responsible for temporary housing arrangements with the lessee while repairs are made. This talks about derelict buildings. So if there's an inspection that goes on, we know if it's a derelict building, and it won't go derelict in a heartbeat. Big 40-foot tree falls on something. And somebody was in there last year. You go, well, this is not what it looked like. This is not what. No, I can vouch for you. This is not what you had. This is caused by the tenant. They did all this, but you can't just take the one line in its own bubble, because that one line is part of a whole paragraph. It's not just by itself.
And there's always three sides to a story.
Yeah.
His, theirs, and the truth, which is usually somewhere in the middle.
And the part about these or having to pay temporary housing, I mean, that's a pretty big risk for somebody to take in renting a house.
Based on derelict building. So if you're renting someone a derelict building that is no longer, habitable, and that's what that refers to. It's not, you have to take it, you can't take it bit by bit. It's an entire thought process. That whole section D is its whole thing. You can't pull one line out of it and say, this doesn't seem right. How does it refer to the rest of the paragraph?
The other factor in there was under state law, renter have rights to have water, heat, and shelter. And if any of those three shouldn't be met in more than, I believe it's 24 hours, then it's up to the owner to have them put up somewhere while those repairs are done. And I've gone around and around, and what the town lawyers have told me in different places is, if it doesn't say it in the ordinance, you have a hard time enforcing it. If it says it in the ordinance, then you have a legal leg to stand on, so they had to go to court.
Well, what
So
if
the
it says it
town-
in the state law as well?
It is, but again, there's no one to enforce it without it being in the town code. It's hard for the town to enforce it because the town lawyer will say you don't have a leg to stand on.
Yeah, you can't go in there. You can't enforce that. Then you just have to call the sheriff, and the sheriff would have to fight the
Makes
section.
no sense at all, that.
That's just how it ends up going.
Let's
So-
making our system larger.
That whole thing basically is just a protection for both parties. And to give the town the ability to enforce. That's it. It's nothing more than that.
What about the building one? Anybody have anything on the building?
For the state? No,
I work for the towns, but I have to know the state laws as well. Because we have, the way it works is, like for building code, you have to build to the code. I have to enforce the code if I see it, but they don't have to make me go out and do inspections for every little bit. Like I don't have to go out and measure that you put in 8 number 10 nails on
there's your
your
problem.
driveway. They don't, because we have a small enough population. But if I go out and I see that you put in 1 screw on each corner, then I'm gonna say something. That's kind of where it falls. It's a gray area. That was the compromise that the Senate made 10 years ago now, probably. In putting in building codes at all in the state.
Any questions on the building ordinance? Additions and proposed removals?
Let's move on to our select board meeting. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
First of all, thank everybody for coming and participating on that.
Was there anybody online?
No,
Before I take off, also, if anybody has any other questions or wants to talk one-on-one, feel free to get in touch with me. And I will.
So is this your, and blue, is this you? Is this your right?
Yes,
Okay, do you have a business card?
I do.
This is gonna.
We actually have an executive session.
No.
we were going to potentially have one, but no.
But thanks for doing that.
I can bring the inspection forms and all of that. We have to sit down and talk about it. Have a good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you, Kevin. Ooh,
Okay, I've read through the prior meeting minutes. I make a motion to approve them. All in favor? Look through the treasurer's warrant, seems to be as it should be. I make a motion to accept. All in favor? New business. Old business.
the bid open.
Bid opening. It's for the paving of Taunton Drive, correct?
Yep.
Can I ask a question about that real quick? Green paving do hold you?
No,
I told the guy with the mohawk.
yeah, no, they haven't put in bid twice, it's gone up, they never put a bid in.
Huh. Cause after the next day of the town meeting, I saw him up at Home Depot and I said, did you see the bid for paving Taunton Road up to the Franklin line? It's like, oh, it's, I didn't know. I said, well, there you go.
No, I see the truck driver and I told him it was gonna do Town Drive and we just, either too busy, don't wanna mess with it.
A lot of guys get excited, but don't bid. A lot of guys get excited, but don't bid.
Hmm.
It's an age-old tale.
So it's still two bidders right now then.
One,
One, 'cause it went back out, and this is only one big receive.
Most expensive or the cheapest?
the
Most
most, well, the
expensive.
two most expensive.
And this is a new. The two that had before didn't rebid.
Well,
This one's considerably cheaper and small mix.
And it has
And
everything on it.
Let's replace some color.
and redoing the culvert?
Yeah, there was one culvert.
No, so that was done last year.
Make sure they pay attention to the culvert law, 24 feet and 50 and 55 feet.
Alright, I just had a new feeling.
Okay, so we've got one bid from Eaton Paving and Excavation LLC to pave Taunton Drive as per our instructions, $321,297.
So are they matching the 500? The mill on the $500,000 bid?
Oh yeah, they've got everything here.
What do you
You
mean?
remember the last bid, I missed the last meeting, so you have to go back one more. They had one bid for 500 and some odd thousand, one bid for 249,000.
No, one was 600, almost 600, one was 360 or 370 or something.
Okay, 327.
321, 297.
And one was gonna do 2 inches, which was almost 600,000, the other one was gonna do an inch. And it was,
But that's neither here nor there.
but this is an inch and a half,
Yeah.
and it's still $20,000-$30,000 cheap.
Well, based on, and it's actually a really good deal. I make the motion to accept this bid.
Second,
All in favor? Yay, finally it'll get done.
yeah. And they can really fly up now, but
Do you wanna let them know?
Yep.
Thank you.
Town manager report?
I only have one thing. This week just passed, well, Monday, they went out in the mail, the 30-day notices on delinquent taxes for the year, for the tax year we just closed out. Coming up to a total of $220,000. So a lot of it is that we had 2 payments. And a lot of folks missed, they forgot they had to make a second payment.
Mhm.
So a lot of it is that. Some frequent flyers, but a lot of it is,
I wonder how
I
much of
missed-
it's like airship property where people pass away and nobody.
some is that, some is the, some is in escrow and the bank forgot. The bank forgot, the people forgot. It's always been 1 for a long time. Then it went to 2 and everyone's like, oh. So a lot of folks calling up, right? Phone keeps ringing, send me this, send me that. People walking in the door. So
Yeah, if the
Yeah.
bank's supposed to cover. Public comment?
I had 2 and I'll get over here.
Oh, cool.
It's nice to see Bethany on my side for once. Shocking. So. Ray, I'm a little disappointed a month ago when you said you're not gonna do anything about it. About speeding on Chunk Lake Road. I wanted to give you this to read later. Section 1. As far as Pond Bay goes, Norman, I wanted to present this to you. You will not have any problem with dump trucks going down your road anymore unless they're permitted.
Right there.
Well, they-
Oh, wait,
they
whoa.
always had to Get a permit.
Whoa. In that, a vehicle over 20, a vehicle over 23,000 pounds with no load, only load being on are the tools to operate the vehicle, can operate on that road anytime.
Right.
Empty dump truck.
Empty
not no-
dump truck
So not no
is
dump truck, not no dump truck,
1,000 pounds.
at least 23,000 it says. There's no regulation on an empty dump truck. Read it. Section 6.
Okay. What else you got?
Right. We'll have to go further then.
Speeding has something to do with horns and signaling devices. Jerry?
What?
Speed has something to do with horns and signaling devices.
Yeah, burning tires, running up and down the road. People, trucks going by every day, hitting their air brakes on me, hitting their fucking Jake brake on me. Yeah,
Okay, so a horn and signaling device.
so now I'm reporting it to you. So every dump truck company that you can think of in this town, in this area that goes up and down that road, I expect you to correspond with them in some way or another,
Okay.
tell them to knock it
So
off.
if they're using a horn and any such signaling device,
Yes, Jake brake. Brrr.
that's a signaling device?
Say what the Jake brake is?
Is that a signaling device?
Yes.
What is it?
Slowing
What
down,
does it signal?
Somebody you're slowing down.
That's what its intention is?
Yeah. You tell me, are you?
I don't know. I'm not a truck driver.
Huh?
So a J brake seems like a mechanical device.
Slow the truck.
It's a mechanical device to slow down a truck. I know exactly what the fuck it is, but I know what they're doing with it.
So it's not a signaling device.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because the other day, and I'm pressing charges, I was out standing by my mailbox and I heard somebody come flying around the corner and up toward Route 1. And I just, while they were coming, I took my hand and went like this. And you know what she did? She swerved and made me jump off the road. She, well, I'm thinking it's a she, but she belongs to an Andrews somewhere or another. She has Holly on the front of her license plate, on the front plate of her van, black minivan,
Oh, it
Chrysler.
wasn't a truck then.
No,
So 7.
it's a personal vehicle, but now I carry a pistol with me when I go out to that road. And the next fuckhead that haunts me, tests me, I'm gonna blow his tires out right there and let the cops deal with it. I ain't gonna shoot them.
I bet my
But you're
speed-
letting, look at me, you're letting shit get out of hand. And if you can't handle it, you need to go away.
Is law
Let somebody else do the
is
job.
law
I'm
enforcement
tired.
is law enforcement my job? No, I'm not.
Tired.
Is law enforcement my job? Yes or no?
Is this town, did you?
Is law enforcement my
You take
job?
an oath for your job? You did. I know you
Is
did.
law enforcement
And
my job?
In that oath to protect the town and the citizens of Sullivan?
Is law enforcement my job?
Yes, it is.
Where? Please show me. Well, law enforcement is my job.
All right.
quit.
So we're getting sideways here. All right, so
You're gonna fucking go.
Jerry, stop.
I'm done with you. It says right here, the municipal officers may either permanently or seasonally impose such restrictions on gross registered weight of vehicles as may, in their judgment, be necessary to protect the traveling public and prevent abuse of the highways and designated townways and bridges in which the restrictions apply. Whenever notice has been posted, which they is tearing down on Tunk Lake Road, no person may thereafter operate any vehicle with a gross registered weight in excess of the restriction during the applicable time on any way or bridge so posted, unless otherwise exempt as provided herein.
Okay, so that's
Hold on.
those things. Hold on, I'm resetting for your second one. All right, go ahead with your second thing.
The only exemptions to the road are people delivering petroleum products or heating oil, groceries, bulk milk, bulk feed, solid waste, organic animal bedding, returnable beverage containers, sewage from private septic tanks or porta potties, or medical gases. So I guess the college can have their nitrogen delivered in their
To the fish farm. stuff?
tractor, trailer, semi truck that's, twice, 3 times the road limit. I don't know why they can't bring a smaller truck now, but this is why we're spending $400,000 in our community.
Mhm.
All right, and you made a comment, and let me finish this and I'm gonna get out of here.
All right,
Any vehicle, combination of vehicles registered for a gross weight of 23,000 pounds or less is exempt. Any vehicle with a combination of vehicles registered for a gross weight in excess of 23,000 pounds and traveling without a load other than the tools or equipment necessary for proper operation of the vehicle. This exemption does not apply to special mobile equipment. It shall do defense to a violation of the subsection if in combined weight of the vehicle combination of vehicles registered for a gross weight in excess of 23,000 pounds. So if you're telling me a dump truck weighs 23,000 pounds, well, it's in excess of 23,000 pounds. You guys brought this on.
Right, but if they
Yeah.
walk through, they get a permit, if it's a dump
Right.
truck loaded.
No, it says in here that they have to, hey, they should have to, read the fucking thing, man. It says right here, permits. The owner and operator of any vehicle not otherwise except or provided herein may apply in writing to the municipal officers for a permit to operate on a posted way or bridge. Notwithstanding the restriction, the municipal officers may issue a permit only upon all of the following findings. No other route is reasonably available to the applicant, which is bullshit because they're turning off the Franklin Road to come down, they're turning off 200 to come down to Taunton Bay Road. They can just ride it to the end. It's a mile difference. So that's up. If they need to go to the Ellsworth Road, they got the other Franklin Road. So that solves that problem. The current and anticipated conditions of the way of the bridge, what our road shapes are in. So we know nobody should be trucking down them right now. The number and frequency of vehicles trips proposed. The cost and availability of materials and equipment for repairs. The extent of use by other exempt vehicles and such other circumstances as may, in judgment, or be relevant. The municipal officers may issue permits subject to reasonable conditions, including but not limited to restrictions on the actual weight.
yes.
So where's it?
That's on the
not
thing.
limited.
Where do the fees come in? You said something about fees.
Hold on. Municipal officer maybe, but
Because probably assume that people have to get a permit and usually permits come with this.
I'm trying to skim over this fast and I'm all wound up right now. There is no fee, but the municipal officer shall make a permit application separate from this ordinance.
Yes.
Penalties. There's where the fees come in.
Well, there's no one to enforce penalties.
See,
We've had people on posted
Hold
roads
on.
and there's no
Hold
one to
on.
enforce it.
any violation of this ordinance shall be a civil infraction subject to a fine not less than $250 or not more than $1,000. Each violation shall be deemed a separate offense. In addition to any fine, the municipality may seek restitution for the cost of repairs for any damaged way or bridge, and reasonable attorney fees and costs. Prosecution shall be in the name of the municipality and shall be brought in the Maine District Court.
Yeah, that allows for when like Hancock County Sheriff is patrolling the roads to enforce our
It's
signs.
enforceable.
Yeah, we just don't have a constable to enforce it ourselves. But state and local, state and county, that gives them the authority to enforce.
Last thing before I go. I do not believe this is enough time to give people a real chance to look at this. People like me read, it might be easier because I have the day to look at this. The people working 40-hour week trying to figure shit out. A month is not enough time.
It was posted 2 weeks ago.
I understand it.
So they've had 2 weeks and then they have another 3 weeks or 4 weeks now before election day to look at it. Because this is voted on November 4th.
I don't see it passing anyway, but
And the last thing I want to talk about, I listened to what you said about fire chiefs around here. Would you tell me about Hancock? $3,000?
6,500.
Okay, no, it's six.
6,000.
Yes. You know what Steuben gets?
No,
3,000. You know what Millbridge gets?
no.
2,000.
Oh, I know. I totally agree. But
I want to see the sign-in sheet for when that was voted on. Because I believe it was a small amount of people.
I wouldn't vote.
And that's the one I had the problem with you at posting a date.
Yes,
It was at the town
of the
meeting.
meeting.
It was a town meeting that voted on.
I understand that, but the meeting was scheduled in a prior 3 months earlier. And then put up on the board 1 hour before the meeting.
No, it was not.
typical June meeting.
No, it was not.
The board out front,
For
It was in the cry for, it was put in the cry for like 2 or 3 months in a row. And the board is
do you want this
put
or?
up for about a week.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Perfect.
I appreciate it.
Any comment? You got comment? All right. I make a motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor?
Right? Right.
You have it. It was read aloud.
Do they re-sign it?
Yeah,